Today we're gonna talk to you about our proposed hike and clean event, with Nicole talking about the group members' abilities and skills that are for the event. Iris will be talking about the budgeting. Christian will talk about how we will raise money for this event and how we will promote it. Jalen will define what a community service learning is. And I will tell you how we will run through the event that day and how we will gather our volunteers.
Okay, so community service learners is educational approach that combines learning objectives with community service in order to provide a pragmatic progression learning experience while meeting societal needs. Our mission is to help motivate people to be healthy and keep our planet clean and to encourage people to take accountability for the footprint left on Earth. Next slide, please. The community will be Runyon Canyon. The community needs park cleanups, events to raise money. The money will be used to buy more trash containers, recycling bins, park benches, and dog waste stations.
All right, so now I'm going to be talking about some of the traits and overall personality skills and whatnot that contribute to our overall success in creating our event. To begin, I'll talk about some technical skills that our group have with backgrounds and past jobs. So our groups have backgrounds in graphic design, producing, accounting, budgeting, overall social media and press coverage, as well as skills in scheduling and management. I think it's also important to mention some overall personality traits that will help to the success of our event, which are, we're a group of creative minds from diverse backgrounds that really make it easily accessible and efficient to communicate, and we're also very sociable. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering, what are your commitments as a member when you join in as a volunteer or us ourselves? First and foremost, we expect all members to be dedicated and determined to making our event as great as possible, as well as getting our mission across to as many people as possible. Secondly, you'll be expected to be present in each of the weekly meetings up until our event. Thirdly, you'll be expected to commit at least 8 to 10 hours to your sub project within our larger project, and that's not including the weekly meetings. Lastly, we want everyone to help with fundraising, so we're expecting each of the volunteers to bring in at least 10% of revenue from the total budget. And to the other side of this slide, I'm going to be discussing briefly of some of the materials that we're going to be providing for the participators, which are gloves, trash bags, extra masks, water refreshments, and healthy snacks. So now I'm going to be talking about what our one-day event actually is. First, I'm going to talk about the date and location. It's on March 21st, 2021 in Runyon Canyon. And what's so important about our event is that it's a 2-in-1 where we're tackling 2 important events and issues in society in one day. The first being the overall health and activeness of people in our environment, because we know how hard it is, especially right now, to get inspired and motivated to want to go work out. And working out actually helps improve your immune system, which is so important right now, helps decrease stress, which we all know we have in plentiful right now, and helps overall your sleeping habits and sleeping behavior. Secondly, Secondly, we want to highlight the importance of being held accountable for the waste we leave around in our environment and the waste we're picking up. Because even if we didn't release the waste, we should still help out our environment and keeping as clean as possible. And that one last piece of trash that's left in the hike trail or in the mountains or anywhere is one less piece of trash that's going to be harmful or dangerous to the wildlife nearby. And now, next slide.
Okay, so on the day of the event, we expect for the group to be there at least half an hour before the event to start the setup of the tables, the food, and everything. And once the volunteers arrive, they will be split into groups for each trail, which one group member will be taking each trail, and 2 group members will be staying at the entrance, handing out extra water and extra food for anyone coming back. And next slide, please. So yeah, so like I said, there was 3 main trails. Everyone will also be given a first aid kit for each trail in case any injuries. The volunteers will be helping each other stay safe during the hike, making sure everyone's staying on the right trail, nobody's getting lost. And once they arrive back, they will be given more water, like I said. And then once the majority of the people are gone, the group will stay at least another half hour to finish cleaning up, making sure the bags of trash go in the trash and the recyclables that has been picked up gets discarded properly. Next slide, please. So how will we recruit our volunteers is by the publicity we'll be doing for the event. There will be links in each article for a sign-up sheet, so we can at least get an idea of how many people will arrive. We'll get people's contact information, such as email and phone numbers, so they will be updated throughout the week before the leading up to the event. We will, for some volunteers, we will ask for any experience they might have, so like that they can maybe help extra with a certain things during the event. Next slide. Yes, so like I said, most volunteers are expected to be there throughout the whole event. If some have to come back before finishing the trail, it's fine. We will send someone to make sure they get back safely. And yes, yeah, next slide.
Okay, now to the budget. So the target budget that we are picturing is around $2,600, which is not so bad for a one-day event. And that's if we calculate for 50 people, including members and volunteers. So now, not to bore you with the details, I just gonna briefly tell you about the main categories, the way the budget was calculated. So the items needed, which are about $500, snacks and water, which also about $500, and other expenses. So right now we're gonna go a little bit in detail on those. Items that I needed, as you can see, most of them are calculated for 100 people, just in case, so that we have enough of the supplies. Then snacks and refreshments, the same policy. And now other expenses, which is the most expensive category, actually. It's about $1,600, partially because we need event insurance and because also Runyon doesn't have any bathrooms, so we would have to supply that, as well as parking and transportation, promotional needs, and contingency, which is very important because if the things not gonna go according to the plan, at least we have those extra money to cover them up. Now, time schedule, the event gonna be March 1st, 2021. That gives us about 3 weeks from now on. And that's plenty of time if we actually get to the business starting tomorrow. The time is from 8 to 2 p.m. at the moment, but that's just for volunteers. For the members, which is 5 of us right now, we're probably gonna show up an hour before and then leave an hour later, so we can coordinate and make sure that everything goes according to the plan. Now, it's 5 of us, so we will volunteer up to 10 hours a week, working on our particular task, and also be ready for weekly Zoom and in-person meetings. Well, at the moment, probably Zoom. Now, according to the tasks, so we separate that, and mostly because it just makes it easier for us to actually be responsible for one thing instead of like concentrating on a bunch of them. So, for example, Rachel gonna be responsible for needed items, food and water, pretty much providing us with that. Then Jaylene gonna be responsible for other expenses, as well as Nicole. And Nicole also gonna be the recurrent volunteers. I personally going to be dedicating my time mostly to fundraising, and then Christian going to be mostly promoting our events on all the different platforms. And he'll tell you more about it in a second. So, and the most important things, the fundraising, the very two platforms that we're using is GoFundMe and Kickstarter, and they're going to be running from February 2nd, sorry, not from February 10th to February 24th. And press release is going to be weekly, and Christian can tell you more about fundraising and press releases as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm going to be talking first about how we're going to raise the money. So traditionally, how people used to do it is word to mouth, but nowadays we can, since we're in Los Angeles, there's a lot of influencers here who can help promote the event. I myself am an influencer, so I'll be able to help promote with our event as well, with posts, with swipe ups on stories, etc. But before we actually do that, we have to create a press kit or a media kit, whatever you want to call it. And in that press release, what we're going to do is we're going to basically put up everything everyone previously just mentioned in that press release and make it nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that press release after, and we're going to contact companies like Adidas, for example. Adidas is a great company here in LA, and they actually work with Parlay. They partnered up with Parlay, which is basically a project that they've been working on for years to make recyclable. Basically, they take plastic out of the water, and they basically recycle it to make the new shoes that they have. So I thought it would be a great partner for us, because since we're going to be hiking, we might as well contact Adidas, because they do a lot of events where they do go hiking and where they provide shoes that they have for the hikers. So that's another good thing that we could work on. And as Iris mentioned, the GoFundMe and Kickstarter campaigns will also be pushed throughout social media. So we can create a social media page, like an Instagram page or a Facebook page. And that's basically how we would push our events. Another good company that I found and I did my research on is Liquid IV. They basically are a company, that little powder picture right there, the hydration multiplier. You basically put that one of those bags in a bottle of water, and it basically helps you hydrate quicker. They also work on various charities, like in Africa. They would basically send out those products, and those people for Liquid IV, they work with a lot with influencers. So everything ties in. Adidas works with influencers, Liquid IV works with influencers. So everything we're gonna do is basically works with their brand image, and we have a high chance on getting that, especially if it's just a hiking event here in Running Canyon, and they have, and in exchange, it's good publicity for Adidas as well. And basically what we can do as well is not just having influencers promote, but everyone who shows up. If there are people, 50 people who show up, we can ask all of those participants to post on their social media. Us, the volunteers as well. We can also do cold calls and emails. There's various ways that you can reach out to people. So the next slide will actually show you the Adidas Parlay collab shoe that they're working, that they basically launched. And this is a 100% recyclable shoe. And what I thought we could pitch Adidas to is that, hey, if the person who basically picked up the most waste on our hiking that day can win that pair of sneaker. That's an awesome way to promote it as well. I am actually an Adidas ambassador on Instagram, so it would be easy for me to reach out to them and to pitch our idea. So let's just play the next slide. And how are we going to get the publicity? Obviously, we can make, Adidas can also make an article about us on their website for a hiking event, especially since it has to do with basically the environment. This is something that Adidas is focusing more on, basically sustainable fashion. Influencers and bloggers can also post about it. The ones that we contact, let's say we'll reach out to 10 to 15 influencers or bloggers that could post about our event. This would be also another way of getting publicity. Dash Radio is also another one if we wanted to go the radio route, basically to announce our hiking event live on air. That's also a really good promotion. And they can also, usually what they do on radio, they announce an event and then they'll announce what the winning prize would be. For us, it would be that sneaker. We can also have a little TV ad even on Stream Live. It's an app, basically like a TV ad, like similar to Hulu, where you watch a show and then one of the ads pop up. So we could use the content from the influencers, mash them all together in one video, and basically propose that in our press kit to stream live. We can also create our own social media content. Of course, all of us, all of the volunteers can create content of us preparing for the event and post that on the Instagram page or Facebook page that we're going to create. Also, every milestone that we want, let's say, hey, cool, Adidas is on board, we're going to post that as well. So they'll have that extra exposure, and we will have that extra exposure for each blogger, influencer, or brand that wants to work with us, or even local business that wants to work with us as well. So yeah, that's basically most of the publicity things that we can do in such a short amount of time, but it's really doable. Here are the logos of the brands. So there's an influencer, Stream Live logo, and the Dash Radio logo. So those are the ones that I would focus on for now in the next 2 months.
Fantastic. So I'll just gonna wrap it up and gonna mention a few concepts that as a group we used in order to create this event proposal. So number one is creative thinking. We all put our heads together and we came up with ideas and eventually picked out the one that we really like, but also use the critical thinking with a different database and comparison of success of other events so that we could decide particularly on this event that we just proposed to you. Then bonafide group perspective, which means pretty much that we are cooperating with a bunch of other small groups, small, big, different sizes groups, like, for example, press or fundraisers or volunteers. They all separate groups, separate entities, and we all have to communicate in order for this event to happen. And then the teamwork. So everybody got their task, their responsibility. They brought different skills, and based on the skills, we kind of figured out what all of us going to be doing. And then structurization, which pretty much is 5 of us the responsible members of the event, but also we have volunteers that working with us, and they following our orders and following our lead. And as well goes for the same thing goes for press, fundraising, and things like that. So that's pretty massive structure for one-day event. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope we can interest you with new proposals some other time, but also hope that you can support our event. Thank you.